A very good morning and welcome all to this microwave engineering course. If you recall, in our last lecture, we have got the detailed tutorial on how to make use of simulation software, that is a vSmith software. So in the previous lecture, we saw in detail how to download that particular software, how to use it for solving some of the simple matching circuit examples. The same software, we told last time that we are going to make use of extensively this software in our practical session. Now in today's tutorial, as we already did how to make use of that simulator software in our previous lecture, we also mentioned that this particular software we will be using for validating our theoretical result, right? So this is a simulator tool available for us in order to validate our theoretical result. Now please remember that this simulated tool, we can use it in our practical session, but we should also know how to solve Smith chart matching, impedance matching related problems manually. So in today's tutorial, we are just taking our step forward to understand how to solve impedance matching circuit using manual paper Smith chart. So for that purpose, we need to have certain basic understanding of Smith chart, and we should know what is the conventions that are commonly used in order to understand the sign conventions of reactance and susceptances, because normally when we deal with plotting of any particular point into the Smith chart, we deal normally with the complex values, not just real values. So at that time, a brief tutorial will be very much helpful for us to understand these principle of operations, right? And thereafterwards, then we will put our actual hand into solving impedance matching problem. But please remember, don't skip this particular lecture, because this lecture involves preliminary understanding of the basic how to make use of a Smith chart. Okay, so part of this lecture I will also devote to make use of a Smith chart in a PDF form, and I will elaborate you there how to make use of manual paper Smith chart in order to solve our impedance related problems. So before that, we need to have the understanding of learning what are the contents or entities in the Smith chart, right? So let us begin with. So here I will give the title as Basic of Smith chart. So I will go with the basic so that you can understand what are the different parts of the Smith chart. Okay, so as you already studied more or less the details of the Smith chart in your third year course, let us revise this concept again over here. Okay, so the Smith chart is a chart, or it is a graph which is used in RF circuit analysis for designing variety of different circuit. Normally in microwave engineering, the most different types of parameters that we are going to interrelate and we are going to calculate are the reflections, impedances, okay, and the values of lumped element, the values of distributed elements, and so on. So Smith chart is an ultimate tool which is a graphical visualization in order to provide solution to microwave related problems. Okay, so let us say what is this Smith chart and what are the different part it contains. Okay, so first of all, I will draw a Smith chart. The Smith chart that I will be drawing over here, it will only give you the preliminary understanding, please remember. So I will keep my explanation as simple as possible so that you can understand thoroughly what is the meaning of use of Smith chart and what different part that the Smith chart is going to contain, right? So if you visualize, normally you observe a Smith chart, it is a circular Smith chart, right? So I will draw a circular Smith chart. Okay, so this is, say, a Smith chart. Okay, now in this particular Smith chart, please remember, it is a circular graph, right? And there are two axes. Now these axes, one is the horizontal axis, I will draw like this, okay, and one is the vertical axis, I will draw this, okay. Now this particular axis, please remember, the horizontal axis we call it as a real axis. We call this axis as a real axis. Now please remember, all the real values of the impedance, they are getting located on this particular line. So this is a real axis. That means it contains the real numbers. And here the vertical axis, we normally call it as an imaginary axis. Imaginary axis, right? So a Smith chart basically a circular graph which contains two axes. The horizontal axis we call it as a real axis, and the vertical axis we call it as an imaginary axis. What is the real axis? The real axis contains the marking scales in this way, okay, which contains normalized values of real part. Okay, so they indicate normalized values of real part of any particular entity. Now please remember, there is a concept of normalization. Normalization. Now let us see what is this normalization concept. Normalization means whenever you want to enter a certain point into the Smith chart, you directly cannot enter that particular point into the Smith chart. But before to enter that particular point into the Smith chart, we need to normalize. So please remember, Smith chart is rather, it is a normalized graph. Okay, so what is the process of normalization? So the normalization means whenever you want to plot a point into the Smith chart, it has to be first normalized and then it will be entered. So what do you mean by normalization? Let us say I have here an impedance ZL. Now this impedance is a complex impedance consisting of real part and imaginary part. Let us say the real part is 100 and imaginary part is positive. Imaginary parts are indicated with complex parameter J, or it is also represented as a I also, imaginary, standing for. Okay, so let us say 100 plus J100. Now this is the impedance, so that means it has a unit of ohms. Okay, now what is the first part, which is a real part? So please remember, this is a real part, right? And the imaginary part you need to take along with the sign, please remember. So imaginary part is plus J100, right? So this impedance consists of real part plus the imaginary part. So that's why this particular impedance ZL, we call it as a complex impedance, right? So this is a typical example how we represent a complex impedance which consists of real part and imaginary part, right? Now what is the process of normalization? Suppose this particular complex impedance that I want to plot into this particular Smith chart. So before plotting this particular point, that is the impedance, complex impedance into the Smith chart, it has to be normalized. So normalization process divides the given value of load impedance or any impedance with the characteristic impedance. Okay, so you recall the definition of characteristic impedance. Characteristic impedance is the impedance represented by a transmission line. Okay, and you already know what is the significance of characteristic impedance. So let us say Z0 over here is representing a characteristic impedance. Let us say it is a characteristic, I will make a spelling mistake, characteristic impedance, right? Now this is a characteristic impedance of a transmission line, right? Its value is fixed, right? No matter what is the length of the transmission line, the value of characteristic impedance is going to be fixed and constant. Now let us say the characteristic impedance of the transmission line is given and known to us is say 50 ohms. Okay, so the normalization process is then going to give us the normalized value of load impedance. So ZL bar, small ZL bar, how it is given? It is given by capital ZL divided by Z0. So this we call it as a process of normalization. So what is the ZL over here? The ZL is a complex impedance 100 plus J 100 ohm, right? And now it is divided by the characteristic impedance of a transmission line, that is 50. So the value we will get, we need to divide the real part as well as the imaginary part by the denominator separately. So here I will get 2 plus J 2 ohm. So what this value represent? This value represents normalized value. Please remember, this value is now normalized value. And what is this value? This value is 2 plus J 2 ohm. Okay, so this we call it as a normalized. Now what you can do is, you can actually enter this particular value into this particular Smith chart. So if you observe the Smith chart, there are two different types of Smith chart. We will come to that part later on, and there is a slight difference between these two Smith chart. Normally these are the impedance Smith chart, or it is a normal plain Z chart we call it as, and the second type is ZY Smith chart, or it is also known as a combined Smith chart, which contains admittance lines as well as the impedance lines, right? So for time being, you just remember that we need to enter this particular normalized value into the Smith chart. So if you see any particular Smith chart very carefully, at the center, please remember the normalized value is 1. Okay, and this value go on increasing, and here the value, real value of impedance is infinity, right? And similarly here on the left hand side, at this point, the value of the impedance is 0. So what we are representing? We are representing the real value of impedance here. Okay, and here also we are representing the impedance values. So the real values of impedances are getting located on the horizontal axis. So the center of the Smith chart, please remember, it is a very special point over here. We always call this point as a matched point. So please remember, this point is always known as a matched point. I will write over here. Okay, and what this matched point is representing? Please remember, this matched point is always representing the characteristic impedance of a transmission line, that is Z0. Okay, in normalized form, please remember. So what is the characteristic impedance we assumed over here? That is a 50 ohm. If we want to enter 50 ohm into the Smith chart, we need to normalize it. Okay, so what is the value after normalization? 50 divided by 50, it is 1. So that's why we get 1 over here. Okay, so please remember, the center of the Smith chart is a very special point and special consideration, and it always represent a matched point. Okay, and what it represent? Actually, it represent the normalized value of characteristic impedance, or rather I should write it as a Z0 bar. Okay, so a bar over the entity indicates that that particular value is normalized. Okay, so please remember, this value, normalized value, real value, will increase when we go on the right hand side, and the real value will become infinite at this particular point. Okay, so where we say that the impedance has become infinite. Okay, and similarly, if we go on the left hand side on the real axis, from this one point on the left hand side, the impedance will go on decreasing, the real value especially, likewise, and at this particular point, the real value of impedance will become totally 0. So these 2 points, that is, I will highlight with different colors so that we can understand. So this particular point, Z is equal to infinity, and this particular point, Z is equal to 0. These are again important points for considering the condition of short circuit and open circuit. Now see, whenever Z is equal to infinity, what this indicate? This indicates impedance is very high. When the impedance is very high, this particular condition we consider as open circuit condition, right? Open circuit condition. And similarly, when Z becomes 0, that is the real part, when it becomes 0, what it happens? It represent short circuit condition. It represent short circuit condition, right? So these 2 points on the extreme right hand side and extreme left hand side of the Smith chart, they are representing what? They are representing these two situations. Situation 1, Z is equal to infinity. This is an open circuit point, please remember, where the value of impedance, real part, becomes very high. On the other hand, when Z is equal to 0, this particular location is also called as a short circuit condition for impedance, where the real value of the impedance is 0 as well as imaginary value is 0, because please remember, as the values are getting located on the real axis, there is a no contribution from imaginary part. So that means the values are going to be only real, right? And the right hand side point represents open circuit condition, and the left hand circuit point is representing short circuit condition. Okay, so is it clear? Now we go ahead and then we go into the little bit details into this. So this is, we call it as a process of normalization. So normalization is a process to input any given value of impedance or any other point into the Smith chart. Okay, so the normalization means we need to take the given value, divide it by a characteristic impedance of the standard given transmission line, and then directly input the value over there. Okay, so it might have only a real value or imaginary value or a complex value consisting of real as well as imaginary value. Now let us see how to plot this particular normalized value of load impedance into the Smith chart. So what we have here with the above discussion is, we have the normalized value of impedance is, as we saw earlier, it is a 2 plus J2 ohm. So how to enter this point? So before that, we need to have the understanding of how to represent the imaginary values. Now earlier we saw, just now we saw that how to represent the real values. The real values are the values which are located on the real axis. Now similarly, how to represent the imaginary values? Now please remember over here that the imaginary value we need to take into account along with the sign convention. Okay, so please remember over here, this particular part, it is representing plus J and the value is 2. Now here there are two different considerations. So it is indicating it is positive imaginary part. Okay, and this part is representing the actual magnitude, normalized magnitude, right? So please remember, when we want to plot imaginary part of that complex value impedance, we need to take into account two things. First is, what is the sign of that imaginary part, okay, which is represented by either plus J or minus J, right? And it represented by a certain magnitude, which is the second value. Okay, so here we have two different situations. The symbol or the sign convention for the J, it could be minus J also, depending upon what is the value of imaginary part of the given impedance, complex impedance. If it is minus J2, what it represents? Again here, the sign of the imaginary part is negative, please remember, while the magnitude is same, that is 2. Please remember, again it is a normalized magnitude. So how to represent positive imaginary values and negative imaginary values in the Smith chart, which are representing the complex impedance? Okay, so this part we will see now. Now recall that how the load impedance or the impedance in general is represented in RF circuit. Now remember that we know the relationship. The impedance Z is represented in terms of real part and imaginary part by means of resistance and reactance. Please remember. So the resistance is R plus or minus, J is the imaginary part, and X stands for magnitude of reactance. Now please remember, what is Z? Z over here is the impedance, right? I will write here. What is R? R is the real part, right, and it is a resistance, please remember. Okay, and as I already told, the polarity of imaginary part, it could be positive or it could be negative. And what X is representing over here? The X is representing the imaginary part. And what this imaginary part of the impedance is known as? The imaginary part of the impedance is known as reactance. It is known as reactance. So what the impedance will consist of? The impedance will consist of resistance and some either positive or negative value of reactance. Okay, so the impedance Z is equal to R plus or minus J times X, where X is representing the imaginary part of the impedance Z and which is known as a reactance. Okay, so if we have plus Jx, please remember, if we have plus Jx, it represents inductive reactance. What it represents? It represents inductive reactance. Okay, and if the imaginary part is negative, that means minus Jx, it represents capacitive reactance, right? It represents a capacitive reactance. Now if I take the reciprocal of impedance, now we are going into the reciprocal scale of the impedance. Now what I will do is, I will represent 1 by Z. Okay, 1 by Z, that means the reciprocal of impedance will represent it as admittance. Okay, and the admittance is represented by capital letter Y. And again, as the impedance is going to have the two parts, real part and imaginary part, here the reciprocal of impedance, that is the admittance over here, also possess real part and imaginary part. Now the real part and imaginary part of admittances are expressed as G plus or minus JB. Okay, now here what is a Y? Y is admittance. Okay, so admittance is reciprocal of impedance, please remember. And what is G over here? G is the real part of admittance. This represents real part of admittance. And what is G called as? G is called as conductance. Okay, and please remember, G is equal to always 1 upon R, or it is a reciprocal of resistance. And similarly, the sign, it could be positive J or it could be negative J. Okay, and the next imaginary part, I will write over here, this is the imaginary part. This is the imaginary part of admittance, please remember, imaginary part. And what it represents? The imaginary part of admittance, it represents susceptance. Okay, it represents a susceptance. So the susceptance is given as a reciprocal of reactance. Okay, so please remember, the relationship between the admittance plot and impedance plot is given by Z is equal to 1 upon Y, or you can write Y, that is admittance, Y is equal to 1 upon Z. Similarly, what you can write? You can write the resistance, the real part of impedance R is equal to 1 upon G, that is a conductance. Or you can write in terms of G also, that is a real part of admittance, G is equal to 1 upon R. Okay, and similarly the imaginary part of the impedance, we call it as a reactance, represented as X, which is reciprocal of susceptance, that is B. Or you can write this in terms of susceptance, capital B is equal to 1 upon X. So please remember, these are the relationship between the impedance and admittance part. They are reciprocal of each other, right? So this is very important to consider. Now what we want to represent is this imaginary value. So what we are plotting? we are either plotting the value of impedance or we are plotting the value of admittance. Okay, now please remember how to plot the real values of these entities. The real value of impedance is a resistance, the real value of admittance is the conductance. Okay, now please remember how to plot the conductance values. To plot the values of conductance, it is similar to the resistance. Okay, now in the same Smith chart we have the values of conductance. So please remember this horizontal real axis over here, it also represent the same values for conductance. Okay, so the same axis you can use to represent the conductance values because they are representing the real part of admittance. Okay, and how to represent the imaginary part? The imaginary part of the impedance, it could be either positive or negative j times x. Okay, so where x is a reactance, and it could be, and what is the similarly on the basis for the admittance, it is g plus or minus j times b. Okay, now here we need to see how to represent. There could be two possibilities, plus jx minus jx. Okay, so this is a positive reactance, right, and this is a negative reactance. Please remember, we already told that positive reactance is represented by inductive effect, negative reactance is denoting capacitive effect, right? Now similarly, if we consider the imaginary part of admittance over here, we have two combination, plus jb and minus jb, right? Now plus jb is a positive susceptance and minus jb is a negative susceptance. Okay, now in the Smith chart, how to represent positive reactance, negative reactance, and similarly how to represent positive susceptance and negative susceptance. Now let us see how to draw these values in the Smith chart. Now please remember the values of real part for the impedance and for the admittance are represented by constant resistance circles and constant conductance circles. Now first of all, let us plot how the real part of impedance and admittance look like into the Smith chart. Come back to the Smith chart. Now here what I will do is, I will first represent resistance circles, okay, which is representing the real part of the impedance. The resistance circle I will represent with a red color. Now see, these are the resistance circles which I am drawing right now. So this is a resistance circle which is passing through the center. Now please remember, this is again a very special circle over here. Now this circle we call it as a 1 plus jx circle. If you recall our earlier discussion in the tutorial of simulator, we discussed what is a 1 plus jx circle, and we also discussed this particular entity when we studied the configuration of lumped elements. Okay, so there we saw the two different configuration, and based on where is the location of normalized value of impedance, we need to choose any one of the configuration, and that is based on this 1 plus jx circle. So 1 plus jx circle is also known as unit resistance circle. Unit resistance circle, in short it is represented by unit R and the symbol of circle. Okay, so this circle which is passing through the center of the Smith chart and which is touching to the open circuit, this red circle we call it as a real part of the impedance, and this is representing unit resistance circles, right? So here as we go across here, we will get the circle sets like this. Now here I will draw the set of circles in this way. So we will get a series of circles like this. Now please remember, all these red circles, they are touching to the open circuit point. Okay, and when we go across the y-axis, the size of resistance circle go on increasing. Okay, so what these are representing, the red circles are representing the real part of the impedance, that is a constant resistance circle. Now please remember, when we go on the left hand side on the real axis, the size of the resistance circle increases. Okay, but the value of resistance decreases. Please remember, because we are going in this particular direction, that representing that the value of the real part, that is the resistance, is decreasing. So larger is the resistance circle, smaller is the value of resistance, and vice versa. On the other hand, if we go towards the right hand side, we see that the size of these circles are shrinking. Okay, so that means when the value of resistance increases, the real value, the size of the constant resistance circle shrinks. Okay, now at this particular point over here, when the resistance becomes very high, near to the infinity, then the resistance circle will shrink to a point, right? So these sets of circles, remember, they are representing the real part of the impedance. So here we discussed how to represent the real part of the impedance, right? Now on the similar basis, we can draw a set of circle representing the real part of the admittance. But here we will change the origin of these circles, and instead of on the right hand side origination at the open circuit point, all the conductance values which are representing the real values of admittance, they will originate from short circuit point, which is this one point. Okay, so I will choose a different color to represent the real part of admittance, that is the conductance circles, right? I will choose this light blue color and I will start drawing these circles. Now what are these circles? These circles are getting originated at z is equal to 0. Okay, and when you cross on the right hand side, when you go on right hand side, the size of these circle will tend to increase. Okay, so what are these circles? These circles are representing the real value of admittance, and these are known as conductance circles, constant conductance circle. And unit resistance circle, which just we discussed right now, we have unit conductance circle. So this particular circle, which is passing at z is equal to 0 as well as at z is equal to 1, we call it as a unit conductance circle. For conductance we write G, and for circle we denote with a symbol this one. Okay, so we represent the real part of impedance and real part of admittance as a set of circles whose centers are getting located on the real axis. Please remember, if you see carefully, all these sets of red circle and all these sets of blue circle representing conductance, their centers are located on the real axis only, right? So here we can write the left hand side open circuit point and short circuit point in terms of admittance also. So if here we know this particular relation over here in this particular box, if z is equal to infinity, okay, what is the value of y? When z is equal to infinity, if we take reciprocal of infinity, it gives y is equal to 0, right? And similarly, when z is equal to 0, that is a short circuit impedance condition, and when we evaluate admittance, the admittance will become infinity. So please remember, the extreme right hand side point and extreme left hand side point on the Smith chart on the real axis, they are representing the same point. So when impedance is infinity, this point is representing open circuit for impedance, and please remember the same point is representing admittance as short circuit. Okay, when impedance is open circuit, the same point is representing y is equal to short circuit, or y is equal to 0, you can write. Come back to the left hand side over here, we said that the left hand side z is equal to 0, that means impedance is short circuited. When the impedance is short circuited, what we have the relation, the admittance will become infinity. and the same point is representing that the admittance is infinite, or admittance y is equal to infinity at the same point, and the same point is representing open circuit condition for admittance. Now please make sure that these 2 points are representing either the short circuit condition or open circuit condition for the given value of other impedance and for admittance. Only their convention will get reversed. If the impedance is open circuit over here, the same point is short circuit for admittance. On the other hand, on the left hand side, if the impedance is short circuit 0, the same point is representing that the admittance is open circuit. Okay, so you need to remember this thing very clearly. Okay, now let us go ahead and let us show how to represent these imaginary terms, right? So how to represent the positive and negative reactance, and similarly how to represent positive and negative susceptances. Now as we represented the real part of impedance and admittance in the form of set of circles, we can similarly represent the values of imaginary parts of the impedance and admittance, positive and negative, in the form of arcs. Okay, now let us say I want to represent, now rather than showing the same imaginary parts in the Smith chart, what I will do is I will represent it separately in the separate chart. Okay, so I will change the color again. I'll draw a circle. I will draw a small circle so that we can visualize it. Let us say this is a Smith chart, right? Now in this Smith chart, let me draw the real axis. Please remember, I am showing the how to plot the imaginary parts, how to represent the imaginary parts of impedance and admittance separately in the Smith chart. Okay, but these are present in the same chart, please remember. Okay, and the vertical axis, we already know that this vertical axis is representing imaginary axis. Okay, so how to represent positive reactance? Positive reactance I will show with red color. Positive reactants are represented by a set of arcs which are originating at z is equal to point in this way, right? Okay, so what these arcs are representing? These arcs are representing plus jx. So I will write over here plus jx. So plus j means positive and x means reactance. So when the reactance is positive, the representation of the positive reactance, that is the inductive reactance, is represented by arcs. Okay, so these arcs are representing positive part of the reactance, and these arcs are better known as inductive reactance. Okay, where the reactance is positive. And similarly, if you take the replica of these set of arcs along with the real axis, so this is the real axis, right? The horizontal axis is the real axis. If you take the replication of plus jx along the real axis, if you take the mirror image, so what you will get on the downside? Similarly here you will get a set of arcs. See carefully, I am drawing these arcs, right? And in this way, and it will spread out throughout this Smith chart like this. Okay, so in this way. So similarly this side, the top side, in this way, right? So just consider this as an example. Right, sets of arcs. So here I will represent. So what I will do is I will draw it again. I will change the color. This was our real axis, right? If you take the replication of these positive arcs along the real axis, okay, so you will get the arcs like this. Once again I will draw. Okay, so in this way you will get the replica of positive reactance along the real axis. So here you can write it is a minus jx. So what this represent? these R's are representing the negative value of reactance. So please remember, in the lower half circle of the Smith chart, the value of the reactance is negative. Okay, so and this is representing capacitive reactance. Okay, so we represented how to indicate the positive and negative part of the reactance. Okay, and similarly, let us say how to represent the positive and negative susceptances. Again, these are represented in the form of arcs. I will change the color and I will choose the blue color now. Okay, now here I will take the set of negative values of susceptance. So the negative values of susceptance, that means minus JB values. Please remember, it is a opposite to reactance. Minus JB values are shown on the top side with blue color. Okay, so what these arcs are representing? These arcs are representing the negative values of susceptance, minus JB. Please remember, it is opposite to that of the reactance. So reactance on the top side, on the top side of the Smith chart, it is treated as a positive, while the susceptance on the upper half of the Smith chart is treated as a negative. Now on the similar basis, when you take the replication of negative susceptance R's along with the real axis, so what you will get here, these curves will get mirrored and it will get replicated, right? Okay, so these R's, when you replicate along the real axis, you will get positive value of susceptance. So very important to consider over here. Please remember, the value of reactance is treated as a positive in the upper half of the Smith chart. The value of the reactance is treated as a negative in the lower half of the Smith chart. So this is very important. Similarly, the value of susceptance is treated as a negative on the upper half of the Smith chart. Upper half means the top half. Okay, and similarly, the value of a susceptance is treated as positive in the lower half. So these are the very important consideration. Okay, now what you do is, we have represented separately the real values of impedance and real values of admittance in the form of a set of circles, and these sets of circles are shown in this first Smith chart. So the red circles are representing the real part of impedance and they are known as unit resistance circles. Okay, and similarly, the real values of admittance are indicated with conductance circles, which are represented with a blue color, right? And similarly, the negative or positive part of either reactance and susceptance are separately shown in the second Smith chart. So here, the first quadrant over here, now I will choose a separate color in order to illustrate you. So let us say I will choose a black color. Please remember, this first quadrant, this is the first quadrant. The first quadrant is representing positive values of reactances. So there is a second quadrant and third quadrant and fourth quadrant. So all these quadrants we have indicated the representation of imaginary values of reactance, imaginary values of impedance and admittance. Okay, and here we noted that the value of reactance in the upper half of the Smith chart is positive, and these values are going to see, this will be throughout in this way, it will spread in this way. Okay, similarly it will spread from the downside also. Okay, and similarly when you extend the admittance, it will also go into this side, right? And from the bottom side also it will go into this side, and it will be a continuous Smith chart. Okay, so what you do is you combine the first Smith chart with the second Smith chart and you will get a representation like this. I will draw it for understanding. A combined Smith chart. A combined Smith chart is how it looks like this. let us say this is the real axis, right? I am going to combine these two Smith charts together so that I would represent it as a combined Smith chart. And here, right? So how to draw the real part of resistance? So real part of a resistance are the resistance circles, right? These are the real part of impedance, set of unit resistance circles, and so on. Okay, so in this way you can draw it, the real part of resistance. Similarly, the real part of admittance is shown as conductance circles. With blue color I will choose. Okay, in this way. Okay, I will roughly drawing it, and so on. Okay, so these are representing the real values of impedance and admittance. And similarly, if I want to show the imaginary parts also, so then how we can show? Let us say I will choose a different color to show the reactance. Okay, so the reactance lines are shown with a green color as arcs. Okay, so the green color are reactance, positive reactance, please remember. Okay, and similarly I will choose some different color, say purple color. These are representing negative values of reactance, which are shown with a purple color on the downside, in this way. Okay, so in order to represent the negative part of admittance, that is a susceptance, I will show with other color, with a pink color. Okay, so here you will get a complex Smith chart, please remember. So the representation becomes very complex when you want to show all the entities in the Smith chart. So these are like this. Okay, and similarly the positive values of susceptance are shown on the lower half. I will choose some other color, so let us say I will show with a gray color, right? So in this way you can combine the Smith charts together, and it will show the real part as well as imaginary part of the Smith chart. Okay, so when you represent the real part, see what I did is I simply combine this first Smith chart with the second Smith chart, and this is the combined ZY Smith chart. Now in this Smith chart, again I will revise over here. The impedance Z is given by real part resistance plus or minus J times, because the imaginary part it could take the value negative or positive, and this imaginary value we call it as a reactance. And similarly the admittance is represented by real part, that is a conductance, plus or minus J times B, that is a susceptance. Okay, so the resistance values are shown with the red circles, the conductance values are shown with the blue circles. Okay, similarly the reactance values X are indicated with green arcs as a positive values, and the reactance values are shown with the purple arcs for the negative value. Similarly the susceptance arcs are shown negative on the upper half with these pink curves, and similarly the reactance are shown positive in the lower half of the Smith chart with the gray arcs. Okay, now I hope you understood this sign convention and how to plot the real values and imaginary values of the given impedance or admittance into the Smith chart. Okay, now please remember, recall that we are going to solve the impedance matching problem with a different variety of way. Okay, so impedance matching problem normally we deal with to match the given complex impedance to be matched with a transmission line characteristic impedance. And the first type of impedance matching circuit that we are going to study is the lumped element circuits. Okay, now let us have a revision on lumped elements. Okay, now please remember, lumped elements are better understood when you have this foundation understanding of Smith chart basic. Okay, now let us go ahead. I will write as impedance matching using lumped elements. Lumped elements, that means by making use of discrete values of inductor and capacitor. Please remember that lumped element circuit matching is especially used whenever you are operating at a lower frequency, but this is not suitable when the operational frequency becomes excessively high in microwave range, right? Okay, lumped elements. Okay, so there is a certain sign convention. Okay, so here, as we discussed earlier, we have inductor and capacitors. Okay, let us say this is an inductor, a piece of a wire. Okay, so this is an inductor, and we have a capacitor, right? Now please remember, inductor and capacitor both are representing reactive part, right? And that means as they are representing the reactive part, they are representing the imaginary part of either impedance or admittance. Why? Okay, now there is a certain sign convention because there are different ways to combine inductor and capacitor. Okay, so if you recall the LC matching circuit, as we discussed already in a theory, let us say this is the complex load, right? ZL. This complex load I want to match with the transmission line with a characteristic impedance Z0, and I want to insert a matching circuit over here. Okay, so the matching circuit will be in the shape of English capital letter L. So that's why it is called as a L matching network or lumped element matching network. Okay, so based on it, there are two ways possible. Okay, so the first element is, say, a parallel element. Parallel means parallel with a load impedance, and the second element is a series. So this could be one of the combination of matching circuit. So here the matching circuit is this circuit which I shown in a dotted box. Okay, so this is a parallel element. So this I will write the element number 1 and element number 2. So element number 1 over here is a parallel element. Parallel means it is a parallel with load, please remember. Okay, and element number 2 of that matching circuit. So this dotted box is a matching circuit, please remember. This is a matching circuit in lumped section. Okay, so it is English capital letter like L like configuration, so that is also known as a L shaped impedance matching network. So second element is a series element, right? So this is one combination. So this is one configuration or combination, you can say, rather call it as a configuration. Let us call it as a configuration 1. So this is one possible way of designing a matching circuit using lumped elements. So element number 1, so I would rather write as a element 1 and element 2. Okay, element 1 is a parallel, element 2 is a series. Okay, and element 1, if it is an inductor, then element 2 has to be a capacitor, and vice versa. Please always remember that both the elements, that is element 1 and element 2, we are not going to select both as an inductor, or we are not going to select both as a capacitor. If element number 1, if we choose as a capacitor, right, then element number 2, which is in series, it has to be an inductor. Or other configuration, if the element number 1, which is a parallel, if we consider it as an inductor, then the element number 2 we have to take as a capacitor, right? We cannot take element number 1 and 2 both as a inductors or both as a capacitor. If one is inductor, the other has to be a capacitor, and vice versa. So this is a configuration number 1. Now let us draw the second configuration. Okay, I will draw the second configuration over here. Let us say this is the load impedance, right? ZL. This is the load impedance ZL. Now this load impedance we want to match with a transmission line over here. The characteristic impedance of this transmission line is Z0. Now here the first element starting from the load impedance is, say, a series element. So here the first element is series. I will draw over here, I will write it as a 1. So the first matching element is series with respect to load impedance, and the second element will be then a parallel. So second element. Okay, now I will make a box, and this particular circuit which is inside this dotted box, we call it as a matching circuit. Okay, and please remember this is a second configuration. Okay, so here in the second configuration, what we understand, that element 1 here in the second diagram is series. Okay, and similarly element number 2 is parallel. So this is a one of second configuration. So I will call this configuration as a second configuration, configuration 2, configuration 2, right? So again over here the series element, it could be a capacitor. If the series element is capacitor, then the parallel element should be an inductor. On the other hand, if the series element is inductor, then the parallel element, similarly, it has to be a capacitor. Now again, similar to the first configuration, the element number 1 and element number 2 cannot become same. That is, both should not become either inductor or capacitor. If one becomes inductor, then the second has to be a capacitor, and vice versa. Okay. Now the selection choice, which configuration you are going to make use of. Okay, again recall the earlier discussion. The selection of which of the configuration we are going to make use of in the given problem statement, it depends upon whether the normalized value of this load impedance is going to get located into 1 plus jx circle, inside of 1 plus jx circle. If it is getting located into 1 plus jx circle over here, inside here somewhere, anywhere in that particular circle, then we are going to make use of the first combination, where the first element is a parallel and second element is a series. On the other hand, if that normalized value of load impedance is lying outside 1 plus jx circle, now again for your understanding, I will draw it over here and elaborate you which configuration is to be used at what time, right? So I will draw a simple Smith chart here. Okay, now let us say this is a Smith chart, right? I will draw the real axis and imaginary axis. Let us say this is a real axis, right? And let us say this is a vertical imaginary axis. Okay, now where is the 1 plus jx circle? 1 plus jx circle is representing unit resistance circle. Please remember, I will denote it with red color. Now remember, this is the unit resistance circle. Okay, please remember, unit resistance circle is passing through the center of Smith chart, and it is also touching on the right hand side. Z is equal to infinity point, and here Z is equal to 1 point, which is representing as a match condition. Okay, so what you do is you take the value of ZL, okay, and plot that value of ZL. Okay, so how to plot the value of ZL? In our earlier example, what value of ZL normalized we got? We got 2 plus J2. 2 plus J2 over here. If you recall, here we got this value as 2 plus J2. So how to plot 2 plus J2? So this circle is representing a 1. Now here the normalized value of ZL is 2 plus J2 ohm. So how to plot this point into the Smith chart? So first of all, you need to locate a constant resistance circle of value 2. So this is representing resistance. And then you need to locate an arc which is representing positive reactance, which is on the upper half. Okay, so plus 2 circle, please remember, it is smaller than unit resistance circle. So plus 2 circle will be somewhere over here, right? Let us say this is a representing resistance equal to 2, real part, okay? And the reactance is also positive, that means upward somewhere. I will denote it with say green color. The reactance, these are the reactance curves, right? Okay, now you need to select, you need to locate positive 2 value for the reactance. Now always you need to remember that in order to locate a reactance curve of a given value, first of all you need to follow the sign convention. What is the sign convention? The sign convention tells that if the value of reactance is positive, now here in our case the reactance is positive over here, positive J2, the magnitude is 2 and the sign is plus. So that means this reactance curve is located on the upper half, okay? So these are indicated with a green color, okay? So you need to always read the value of reactance curve on the top of that. So these values I denote over here. You need to read these values, okay? So always remember, in order to locate correct position of reactance curve, you need to read the value which is quoted on the top of that particular curve, so which I have shown over here with X label, okay? So let us say this is a 2, so let us say this is representing the value of reactance, normalized reactance 2, okay? So how to locate this point? This point is then located by taking the intersection of constant resistance circle of value 2, which is in our case is represented by the smaller circle, and a reactance curve of having a real value 2. So here I will denote with some different color. So this is the real circle of value 2, and we need to find intersection of this resistance circle with a reactance curve of value 2. So that means here, and when they meet each other over here at the intersection, this point is then representing the normalized value of our load impedance, okay? So this is a technique how to locate a given value of complex load impedance into the Smith chart. First of all, you need to find appropriate value of real resistance circle, and then you need to take care of what is the sign convention for the representation of a reactive element, that is whether it is a positive or negative, and accordingly you need to locate it in the either upper half of the Smith chart or the lower half of the Smith chart, and then you need to read the value of a reactance curve such that it is located on the top of that, okay? So on the other hand, if it could have been a value 2 minus J2, so how to represent? The 2 represent again the same value of resistance circle, but the imaginary value is now negative. Now it is representing the reactance curve on the negative side. So these are indicated with the blue color, okay? Now let us say the negative reactance 2 is represented by this particular curve, and you need to read on the top of that particular curve. And whenever you find a curve which is written with a label 2, value 2 over here, you need to find intersection of this constant resistance circle with this negative reactance value, and here you will find that intersection. This is representing this ZL bar, okay? Now always please remember, in order to locate correctly the imaginary part, that is the reactance curve, always you need to read the top value on that particular curve, okay? Now similarly, how to read the values of susceptances, okay? Let us say I have one example in which I will write YL. Now Y stands for admittance. Instead of load impedance, now we are going to deal with load admittance, okay? The real part is say 3, okay, plus J2. Okay, let us say this is the value of admittance. So the first 3 is representing the conductance value, and the second value is representing the susceptance value. Okay, now where is to locate these conductance values? Conductance circles are represented by this. So you need to locate where is the conductance circle of value 3. So you need to find a value of this conductance circle where you will get a 3 on the real axis. And similarly, the susceptance in this particular case is a positive. Positive susceptance is indicated on the lower half. So I will show with a different color. Let us say this purple color. So the positive values of susceptances are represented by these arcs. Okay, correct? And how to read a susceptance of value plus 2? You need to read the value which is quoted on the top of the curve. Okay, always you need to read the values on the top of either susceptance curve or reactance curve. So this is how simply a procedure to input a given point into the Smith chart. Okay, so actually this is normalized susceptance value. Please always remember, whenever manually you want to enter any given value of either impedance or admittance into the Smith chart, always you need to take the normalized value. Okay, so again I will repeat how to perform the normalization operation. For normalization of impedance, you need to take ZL original value divided by Z0. Okay, then you will get some real value plus or minus J times some imaginary value. Okay, and similarly how to normalize the admittance. Okay, so normalized value of admittance is denoted by small yl. Okay, so the normalized value of admittance is given by capital YL multiplied by Y0. Okay, so what is Y0? Y0 is 1 upon Z0. Please remember. Okay, so this is called a procedure of normalizing the admittance, right? So whenever you are going to read off the value from the Smith chart manually, you need to take denormalization. Okay, you need to convert the given value or unnormalizing it. Okay, so to unnormalize the value of impedance, that means to bring back the original value of impedance, what we need to do, that is a capital ZL we want to get. So what we need to do is whatever readout value from the Smith chart, so that is a Smith chart value, this value is a Smith chart value, multiply it with Z0, then you will get unnormalized value. So this is called unnormalized or denormalized, right? Similarly, how you can represent the admittance original value? Admittance original value is the normalized admittance value divided by Y0. Okay, where this YL is a Smith chart value. And capital YL is what? Unnormalized value. So please remember, normalization of impedance and admittance are just reverse of each other. Okay, so if ZL is representing unnormalized impedance, then ZL bar is representing the normalized value which is given by ZL. You need to simply divide it by Z0. And similarly YL is representing the admittance. The normalized value of admittance is given by YL multiplied by Y0. Okay, so simply there is a reverse of the operation for taking the normalized values of load impedance and normalized value of load admittance, right? So coming back to the representation of matching circuit configuration, as we discussed already, the combinations are, we saw there is a first configuration available and second configuration available. Okay, so based on it there could be positive and negative values of inductors and capacitors. Okay, so the parallel and series configuration are going to give us 4 distinct combination of inductor and capacitors. Okay, so series inductor. Okay, so how the series inductor is represented? Let us say this is a load. Series inductor means it is a series in with the load. So this is called series inductor. Similarly, how you represent parallel inductor? The parallel inductor is represented an inductor which is in parallel with the given load in this way. So this is the parallel inductor. And the same is applicable for capacitor also. How you represent series capacitor then? Series capacitor. The series capacitor is represented as, this is say the load impedance ZL. A capacitor, when it is connected in series with a load, is called as a series capacitor, right? And then parallel capacitor. Now sometimes please remember the parallel term is also known as a shunt or parallel. So these terms of representing the same entity will be using interchangeably. Some people call it as a parallel configuration and some people call it as a shunt configuration. Both are advisable. So whenever there is a load over here, ZL, and the capacitor, this is a capacitor, but this capacitor is placed in parallel. With whom? This capacitor is placed in parallel with the load. So we have four distinct combinations of lumped components. Inductors and capacitors are called as a lumped component. Okay, so this is a first series inductor, second parallel inductor, third is a series capacitor, and fourth is a parallel capacitor. Now in order to calculate these values of discrete lumped elements, that are the four combination: series value of capacitor and inductor, and parallel value of inductor and capacitor. For that we have empirical formulae available. Okay, now how to write these empirical equations? So remember, there is a certain sign convention and you need to take reactance or susceptance into the picture. Okay, so the element, now please see carefully this convention. The element, it could be a series element or it could be a parallel element. Please remember, the element, that it could be an inductor or it could be a capacitor, right? So this element can be connected either in series or in parallel. Okay, whenever we deal with a series element, we will take into account reactances. Please remember, we will take into account reactances. And whenever we deal with a parallel element, to calculate a parallel element, it could be an inductor or capacitor. Okay, so whenever we deal with a parallel element, we need to take into account susceptances, right? So based on parallel combination and series combination of inductor and capacitor, accordingly we need to develop the empirical equation. Okay, so these empirical equation, right now I will write in front of you and I will explain you these empirical equation in brief. When we are going to solve the actual problem, the actual meaning of these terms will be made much more clear. Okay, because then at that time we will be dealing with actual problem solving. Now in this particular tutorial or lecture, we are just developing a foundation understanding the entire concept of Smith entities and the sign conventions associated with it. Okay, so please remember, this is a very important discussion over here. We discussed over here earlier, there are two different configurations of matching elements are available based on series element and parallel element. Okay, so the inductors and capacitors are available in order to place in a series or parallel, right? So based on it, we have got four different configuration. It could be a series inductor, it could be a parallel inductor, or it could be a series capacitor or parallel capacitor. Okay, now the element, now please remember this element, it could be an inductor or capacitor. If the element is series, we deal with reactance. Please remember. If the element is parallel, we deal with a susceptance. Reactance stands for X. Susceptance stands for B. Okay. Say in the upper half of the Smith chart, upper half of Smith chart, how we treat the values of reactance in the upper half of the Smith chart. In the upper half of the Smith chart, the values of reactance we treat it as a positive, right? And similarly, in the upper half of the Smith chart, the value of susceptance, that is B, we treat it as a negative. Please remember. And similarly, in the lower half of Smith chart, on the lower half of the Smith chart, we treat the value of reactance as a negative. The value of a reactance, we treat it as a negative, right? And similarly, in the lower half of the Smith chart, we treat the value of a susceptance to be positive. Please always remember this particular sign convention. So I will highlight it with some making some box, and please remember this particular sign convention very carefully. If the element is series, then we are going to take into account reactance. If the element is parallel, we are going to take into account the susceptance, and we should follow the sign convention accordingly. In the upper half of the Smith chart, the value of reactance we will treat it as a positive. Similarly, in the upper half of the Smith chart, the value of susceptance we treat as a negative. On the other hand, in the lower half of the Smith chart, we treat the value of reactance to be negative, and oppositely the value of susceptance to be positive. Okay, so based on this foundation understanding and the sign convention and the rules, let us write the empirical equation to design series inductor, parallel inductor, series capacitor and parallel capacitor, and then we will use this actual equation in our next turn while solving the typical example. Okay, so let us now write the empirical equation. First of all, for series inductor, okay, say what you are going to write a formula for. I am going to write an empirical equation to calculate the value of a series inductor. So what type of inductor it is? Series. Whenever a series, that means I need to deal with reactance, right? So what is the equation? The equation for series inductor is given as J times omega L is equal to J times into bracket. Okay, now this is a series inductor, it is a series element, that means we are going to deal with reactance. So I will write reactance at destination point minus reactance at source point. Bracket complete, multiplied by this whole bracket Z0. Okay, now for time being, you don't bother about what do you mean by destination point and source point. Destination point and source point, these concepts will be clear to you when we actually trace out a particular point, intermediate point in the Smith chart while designing impedance matching network for lumped design. Okay, so this point of destination point and source point will be clear to you. These are representing the intermediate points at which we need to calculate the reactances, taking into the consideration the sign convention of whether they are lying in the upper half of the Smith chart or lower half of the Smith chart. Okay, now the second element is series capacitor. Again, second element. So first series inductor, second is a series capacitor. Now what type of capacitor it is? The type of capacitor is series, that means we need to deal with reactance only, And what is the empirical equation? For capacitor we will write 1 upon j omega capital C is equal to j times, again write the same equation, that is the reactance at destination point minus the reactance at source point, right? And whole bracket multiplied by Z0. Okay. Now please remember here omega stands for radian frequency, that is 2 into pi into f. So kindly remember, in order to calculate a specific value of the lumped element, whether it is an inductor or capacitor, we should be specified with the operating frequency. So what is operating frequency? F is a operating frequency. Okay, and omega is the angular operating frequency. Okay, so omega is equal to 2 pi f. Okay, so we have the equation for series inductor, we have the equation for series capacitor. Now let us say what are the two remaining equations for parallel element. So first of all, parallel is also known as a shunt. Okay, let us say parallel inductor. Now what type of inductor it is? It is a parallel inductor. So if it is a parallel, then the formula becomes 1 upon j omega L. When it is a parallel element, we need to deal with susceptances. Okay, please remember j times, right? Susceptance again at destination point, susceptance at destination point, right? Same, the format of equation inside a bracket is going to remain same. Now we will see later in detail what do we mean by destination point and source point when we actually solve the example. Minus the susceptance. Please remember, susceptances are indicated with letter B, and we need to follow the sign convention also, whether it is located in the upper half or lower half. Please remember, which is very important. Many people, the student will make a mistake in following the sign convention. Okay, so please be careful when we are using these equation. Okay, so whenever you evaluate the value of lumped element, either capacitor or inductor, by making use of this equation, and if you find that you have got a negative answer over there, please remember that you have made some mistake in considering the sign convention. Okay, so we'll come to that point later on. Susceptance at source point. Okay, whole bracket. Now instead of multiplied by z0, we will multiply it by y0. What is y0? Y0 is simply reciprocal of characteristic impedance, right? And finally we will write an equation for parallel or shunt capacitor. What is that equation? Empirical equation. Now it is given as j omega C is equal to, again we are going to deal with parallel element, that means we need to take susceptances j times, right? The equation will remain same inside a bracket, susceptance at destination point, right? I will write below here, minus susceptance at source point. Again bracket complete, multiplied by y0. Again y0 is nothing but 1 by z0. So please remember, these are the empirical equation that we need to remember. Please remember that when we deal with a series element, we need to take reactances, and when we deal with parallel element or shunt element, we will take into account the susceptances. Okay, now please remember what the matching circuit will be, whether it is an inductor or capacitor. It will be decided when we are tracing a particular curve. Okay, so please remember, inductors and capacitors, they are representing the imaginary part of the given impedance or admittance. So that means mostly we are tracing these curves. Okay, so So these curves we are tracing. Okay, so whether that tracing will result into an inductor or capacitor, that based on how you are tracing. Okay, now the next question over here is how to decide whether the element will be an inductor or capacitor. So the next question over here, I'll change the color. Okay, now next question is how to decide element. How to decide element means whether we want to choose an inductor or capacitor. That element, it could be a series or parallel, that we saw already, but whether it is an inductor or capacitor, how to decide it. Okay, say it depends on how you are tracing the curve. How you are, the answer is how you are tracing the curve. Okay, how you are tracing the curve. Say inductor and capacitor. Okay, so what inductor indicates? It is a positive reactance. It is a positive reactance. Okay, what capacitor represent? It is a negative reactance, right? Okay, so similarly, on the other hand, in terms of susceptance, the capacitance the inductance is showing negative, and similarly in terms of susceptance, the capacitor is showing positive, right? And vice versa. Okay, so let us say in the given Smith chart, okay, inductor will get always resulted when we trace up from down. Trace up from down. If that is the particular condition, we will see what to trace and then how to trace. So whether we trace, okay, so there are two questions: what you are tracing, and then second question you need to ask is how you are tracing. Okay, so if you are tracing a resistance circle, okay, if you are tracing a resistance circle, that means you are going to give a series element. Okay, on the other hand, if you are tracing conductance circle, then the element should be a parallel. Okay, so as we discussed already, what you are tracing is going to give you the type of element configuration. Okay, so what you are tracing, you need to ask this question when you are designing a matching circuit, when you plot the impedance, and when you trace a particular curve. The curve could be a simple curve or it could be a resistor or conductor circle. If you are tracing constant resistance circle, then the element is series. On the other hand, if you are tracing constant conductance circle, then the element should be treated as a parallel. Okay, and then the next question is how you are tracing that. Okay, so how you are tracing means there are two ways again. How you are tracing, there could be two ways. You are going from down to up, or you are tracing the given entity up to down. Down to up means you are going upward, and up to down means you are going downward, or in short, down to up means upward, right? And up to down means downwards, in simple words. Okay, so if you are tracing any of these curves in the upward direction means from bottom to top, when you are tracing any of these particular curve, then it should result in the inductor. So always remember, if you are tracing a curve in the upward direction, you should design an inductor. Okay. On the other hand, if you are tracing the given particular curve in the downward direction, then the element should always be an capacitor. Please remember that the upward motion in the Smith chart always corresponds to inductive effect, and similarly the downward motion on the Smith chart will always result to capacitive effect. So whenever you are tracing either resistance circle, if you are tracing the resistance circle in upward direction, you are tracing a resistance circle, that means it is a series. And how you are tracing it as upward, that means it is a series inductor. And then you use series inductor formula to calculate the value of inductor. Similarly, if you are tracing the resistance circle but in a downward direction, then it is a series capacitor, right? And similarly, when you are tracing conductance circle in the upward direction, then it is a parallel inductor. And if the conductance circle is traced downward, then it will be a parallel capacitor. Okay. So first of all, you need to remember that in order to decide which element and how it is placed in the matching circuit, you need to ask two questions. First question is what you are tracing. If you are tracing constant resistance circle, the element has to be in series. On the other hand, if you are tracing constant conductance circle, the element has to be a parallel or it is a shunt. Okay. So this will give you the idea what type of element you are going to put, first as a parallel or series, and second as a parallel or series. The next question you need to ask is how you are tracing that particular curve. You are tracing a resistance circle. How you are tracing? You are going upward. If you are going upward, then it is an inductor. If you are going downward from up to down, then it is a capacitor. It is applicable for conductance circle also. So please always remember whether the matching circuit will result into an inductor or capacitor and in what configuration. In order to decide that particular, you need to remember two questions. First of all, you need to remember, first question is what you are tracing and how you are tracing. These two answers will give you what type of element you are going to make use of and how that element is going to be placed in the circuit. Give you the complete matching circuit design. Okay. So here we have a very much large explanation for the basic of Smith chart and introducing you the contents of the Smith chart and the sign convention and the tracing of the curves, the component of the Smith chart and all those things. Now I request you people to go through this particular complete devoted lecture for a couple of times in order to understand each and every aspect that today I explained over here. And if you have any doubts, you can call me at any time, and any time whenever we will be starting with our next lecture, you can ask your doubts to clarify the earlier examples. Okay. So from next lecture, what we will do is again I will elaborate you to how to plot and how to consider these matching circuit design example using paper physical Smith chart. Okay. So if you don't have the hard copies of Smith chart, in our next lecture I will provide you the soft copies of impedance Smith chart as well as combined Smith chart, and you are supposed to take the photocopies and print out copies of the same. You need to take ample amount of copies because we are going to solve a variety of different example using Smith chart. So in next lecture I will provide you the soft copy of impedance chart and admittance chart, and in the next lecture I will also demonstrate you how to make use of a Smith chart. Whatever today we discuss the theoretical foundation, all that principle and all that sign conventions and rules we are going to apply in our next lecture. So I request you people to be there in the next time, which is a very important lecture. Today was also very important discussion. If you missed out over here, the recordings are already available to you. You can go through it and revise the concept and come with a clear understanding next time. So here with this lecture I will stop over here. So see you next time, and again we will revise the previous concept, and then we'll actually directly start with using manual Smith chart. So in the next lecture I will provide you the soft copies of Smith chart. You take the printout and keep ample number of copies with you. So here I will stop and see you again in the next lecture. Thank you.